In the dead of night on October 29, 2025, chaos erupted in the heart of China's financial empire. The Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, ICBC, the world's largest bank by assets, plunged into an abyss of digital catastrophe, a system meltdown so profound it erased fortunes in the blink of an eye. Across the nation, from bustling megacities to remote villages, account holders jolted awake to a nightmare, their hard-earned savings, stock portfolios, and mutual funds vaporized, reduced to a mocking 0.00 on glowing screens. Billions in collective wealth, lifetimes of toil and sacrifice, dissolved into nothingness, as if swallowed by an invisible void. Yet, in a twist of cruel irony, the bank's ledger showed no mercy on the indebted. Credit card balances ballooned untouched, mortgage demands loomed like unshakable shadows. Every yuan of obligation preserved with chilling precision. "The system is fair," one devastated user posted online, voice trembling in a viral video. "It takes your money but leaves your chains intact." Dawn broke to pandemonium. ICBC asset wipeout scorched through Weibo, Douyin, and every corner of social media, trending like wildfire as millions shared their horror. Frantic live streams captured tear-streaked faces staring at empty apps. Crowds surged toward bank branches, pounding on locked doors. Desperate refreshes yielded only more zeros, each one a dagger to the soul. What began as a glitch morphed into a national reckoning, a stark reminder that in the age of pixels and code, prosperity hangs by a thread, ready to snap without warning. ICBC's official response was brief: a system malfunction under emergency repair. But the public was unconvinced. How can the largest bank in China just reset everyone's balance overnight? One user wrote. Another sarcastically asked. Funny how every glitch wipes savings, but debts never disappear. Beneath the humor lay a deep unease. In China, errors like these never seem to happen in favor of the people. As the world's largest state-owned bank by assets, ICBC's technical systems are supposedly built to national security standards. Yet this crash triggered a wave of panic withdrawals and account closures across the country. Some users went as far as buying home safes to store cash, realizing that digital numbers on a screen might not represent real security after all. The horror stories poured in. When I opened my app, my entire balance was zero. I just froze. It was all my life savings, one woman said. Another posted, "At 3 a.m. I refreshed my account. My mutual funds all vanished. For a moment it felt like my life reset to zero too." For millions of ordinary citizens, the zero balance night became a terrifying reminder of how fragile the digital economy truly is. Even more alarming was what this incident revealed about the deeper cracks in China's banking system. Just weeks earlier, China's major state-owned banks, including ICBC, Bank of China, Agricultural Bank, and Construction Bank, had all quietly abolished their supervisory boards, effectively removing internal oversight. Experts warned that such concentration of power increases systemic risk. This technical error, they suggested, might be only the visible tip of a much larger structural breakdown. Rumors soon spread online. Some speculated that it was a stress test to gauge public reaction before an impending financial storm. "Don't panic, it's just a drill," wrote one user. "The scary part," another replied, "is when the drill becomes real." Fear and distrust spread faster than any official clarification could contain. What began as a banking glitch was evolving into a nationwide crisis of confidence. The timing couldn't have been worse. China's economy was already spiraling downward, property markets collapsing, local governments drowning in debt, small banks vanishing at record pace. In 2024 alone, over 200 regional banks were shut down, more than in the previous 3 years combined. Analysts warned that the next wave could hit the major institutions. As one commentator put it, ICBC's zero-balance crisis may be the first tremor before the financial earthquake. Even ICBC employees were shaken. "I never imagined this could happen," confessed one self-proclaimed bank staffer online. If the system can't recover, what happens to all that money? Will the bank compensate customers? The post went viral, striking a chord with millions who shared the same question. Is our money really safe? Netizens turned to dark humor to cope. If the system can zero out deposits, one joked, can it zero out my mortgage too? Another replied, if that happens, I'll bow to the bank myself. But behind the laughter was despair. People were realizing that their wealth, once considered secure, was nothing more than fragile data that could be deleted with a keystroke. Meanwhile, the data that defined their debts seemed indestructible. What followed only deepened the outrage. ICBC's delayed communication, lack of SMS alerts, and absence of official apologies were seen as contempt for the public. One customer reportedly told a teller while closing his account, "You cleared my balance yesterday." The employee fell silent. That silence said more than any press release ever could. It wasn't just a technical failure, but a moral one. Other tragic incidents soon resurfaced in the national conversation. In one widely shared story, a daughter in Hunan province was denied access to her mother's medical funds because the elderly woman couldn't appear in person. After being carried to the bank for facial verification, the mother died during the ordeal. What seemed like an isolated tragedy now looked like part of a larger, inhumane system, one where bureaucracy had replaced humanity, and money in the bank no longer meant security. Experts noted that the ICBC crisis was not an accident. It was a mirror reflecting the collapse of trust in China's entire financial structure. In a hyper-digitized economy, personal assets are nothing more than database entries. When those numbers vanish, so do livelihoods, futures, and peace of mind. One viral comment captured the national mood. Your deposits can disappear overnight. The only thing that will never disappear is your debt. It spread like wildfire, becoming a grim epitaph for a nation's financial faith. By the morning of October 30th, ICBC's systems had mostly recovered. Balances reappeared, data was restored. But trust did not return. Across China, long lines formed at ATMs as customers withdrew cash or closed accounts. You can restore the money, one user wrote, but you can't restore trust. Another posted a picture of a brand new safe with the caption, "Better at home than in the cloud." Analysts warned that this event could mark the beginning of China's next financial crisis. From the implosion of property giants to the spiraling local government debt and over-leveraged shadow banks, the entire system was showing cracks. ICBC's zero balance bug, one economist said, isn't a bug, it's a warning. In the end, the night didn't just wipe out numbers, it wiped out confidence. The banks didn't just lose their credibility, they lost their symbolic role as guardians of national stability. As one viral post concluded, a server can crash, a system can be repaired. But once trust is zeroed out, a nation is already in crisis. Perhaps this wasn't merely a technical error, but a confession that in the digital era, even wealth is an illusion. Today, it exists on a screen. Tomorrow, it could vanish with a click. And when the system finally comes back online, the only thing that won't return is the trust that was erased. Shenzhen, once hailed as China's Silicon Valley and a beacon of opportunity, is now facing an unprecedented economic downturn. Warnings echo across social media. Don't come to Shenzhen, don't come to Shenzhen. Countless shops stand empty, factories have relocated, and streets that once bustled with life now echo with silence, resembling ghost towns. In areas like Shenzhen and Dongguan, markets are deteriorating rapidly, with waves of factory closures leaving vast industrial zones deserted. Personal stories paint a grim picture. A recent graduate, on their 10th day in the city, struggles to find work beyond low-paying sales, customer service, or streaming gigs in media companies. Where do I even look for a job? They ask, disillusioned by the reality of a super first-tier city where a 6,000–7,000 yuan salary barely covers 2,000 yuan rent. Iconic spots like Nanshan's Coast City, once a hotbed of prosperity where storefronts sold for 400,000, 500,000 yuan per square meter plus bribes, now sit vacant. A multi-million yuan investment turned to dust, unfit even for rats. Even upscale areas feel the chill. After 4 years away, one visitor notes the lack of vibrancy in Futian District's Xinzhou Road, near the Mangrove Park. At 11:30 a.m. on a weekday, gourmet streets are eerily quiet, with restaurants, tea shops, and cafes barely scraping by. High-rises like the Ping and Finance Center loom over empty entrepreneurial hubs. A decade ago, with a population just over 10 million, night markets thrived into the early hours. Now, nearing 20 million, places like Longgong's industrial zones, Tianhong Mall, and even top districts like Dongmen and Huaqiangbei are plastered with "for rent" signs. Job seekers face bleak prospects. Wages hover at 3,000 to 4,000 yuan, with 5,000 yuan roles rare. Women over 30 are advised to stay away. Months of fruitless searching lead to rental room tours, eating takeout while resumes go unanswered. Interviews end in rejection. A 38-year-old designer, unemployed for 3 months since July, has applied everywhere in the Pearl River Delta with no luck, even among younger peers. Ageism hits hard post-35, but the crisis spares no one. Scenes of desperation abound. Parks overgrown with weeds, abandoned factories, workers mourning decades-old plants shutting down amid order droughts in what should be peak season. At Shenzhen East Station past 11 p.m., people sleep on the ground with blankets. Historic spots like Shijing's Dongtang Street, once teeming, are now barren wastelands of memories. Castle villages like Xinqiao see severe population loss as factories flee. Rentals languish empty despite slashed prices. Houses that once flew off the market now sit for months. Real estate crumbles. Nanshan prices plummet 70% from 180,000 yuan per square meter to under 60,000. Futian's Bagualing drops from 150,000 to 40,000 yuan. Developers slash new builds to 128,000 yuan for units once worth millions, signaling a housing bubble burst. Broader forces fuel the decline: U.S.-China trade wars, strict government controls, manufacturing shifts to Southeast Asia and Mexico. Foreign investment flees, hollowing out industries. Hong Kong's fade as a financial hub hurts too. Without it, Shenzhen struggles. Netizens quip, "Without Hong Kong, Shenzhen is nothing. Without the West, Hong Kong is nothing." This, they say, is the fallout of policies that crippled the region. Unemployment surges. High-end talents join day laborers sleeping under bridges in Longgong's Sanhei talent market, too broke for 15 yuan beds. Business owners like Fu, a private entrepreneur, lament halved revenues, clinging to 20-year factories on dwindling savings. Malls and furniture plazas stand ghostly empty on weekends. 40% of Futian's buildings vacant, construction halted, roads to the airport, once alive with activity, now silent. As companies fold, decade-old firms bankrupt, bosses fleeing, Shenzhen's dream city facade cracks. From thriving pedestrian streets to shuttered shops in Dongmen Old Street, where million-yuan investments vanish, the city symbolizes China's economic woes. Jobless wander, hearts broken. Don't come if unconvinced, you'll leave disillusioned. Yet, amid the despair, ads for health tonics like Xuanbao Black Ginseng promise vitality, ironic in a city losing its own. A Chinese expatriate residing in Thailand recently highlighted a startling shift in the local smartphone landscape. Huawei devices seem to have all but disappeared from prominent retail spaces overnight. At Bangkok's bustling Central Plaza, a major shopping hub, what was once a dedicated Huawei flagship store has been repurposed into a multi-brand outlet. Huawei now occupies a mere sliver of space, barely a few square meters, akin to a tiny display counter, amidst a sea of competitors. This observation, noted on October 31st, aligns with broader rumors that Huawei's sales increasingly rely on patriotic buyers in China, including fervent nationalists and compensated online promoters, amid whispers of the company's impending collapse. Curious about these claims, the expatriate explored further, finding that multiple shops previously stocking Huawei products had ceased doing so, leaving only sparse remnants. During a 10-minute visit, no customers engaged with the Huawei section, despite competitive pricing on Chinese electronics, which remain popular among Thai consumers. Brands like Oppo, Vivo, and Xiaomi dominate mall counters, enjoying widespread visibility. Just over a year ago, standalone Huawei stores dotted major Thai centers, but they are now scarce, prompting sardonic remarks like, "So much for leading the pack." A separate video from an overseas Huawei store depicted it as deserted, save for idle staff, with occasional passers-by ignoring the entrance. This contrasts sharply with Thailand's overall smartphone market in Q3 2025, where Samsung held 20% share and Apple 17%, but Huawei's presence appears diminished amid ongoing US-China trade tensions. Echoing these sentiments, a Huawei supporter in Spain shared her disillusionment after purchasing a device to back domestic brands. Her phone's screen dangled by a single thread, barely intact, underscoring persistent quality critiques. In China, complaints about Huawei's inflated prices and subpar performance abound, particularly among novice or overly patriotic users who later regret their choices. One longtime fan revealed an alleged insider secret. Discounted Huawei phones reportedly fail within 2 years. Another admitted to friends, "Don't buy Huawei. It's awful. I spent over 6,000 yuan, and it can't even handle WeChat smoothly. It's useless beyond being a car key." Live streaming woes draw sharp criticism too. Users report Huawei's Mate 70 Pro as unusable compared to iPhones, with crystal-clear previews devolving into blurry messes for viewers, poor stabilization, and suspected chip deficiencies. "It's garbage for streaming or video. Stick with Apple," one Douyin commenter advised. Huawei's trifold phones face even harsher scrutiny for durability issues. One owner described their device exploding into an ink splash disaster shortly after purchase on October 6th, with screens blacking out or bulging inexplicably. Another joked about a friend's stubborn screen protector swap, leading to panic-inducing damage, eliciting uncontrollable laughter. After-sales service frustrations compound these problems. A vlogger recounted their folding phone's screen going black due to liquid leakage under normal use, only to endure futile hotline calls and blame shifting. After half a month at a service center, they retrieved it unresolved, lamenting, "Consumers always lose. It's not waterproof, didn't drop, yet no help." Warranty denials over minor scratches prompt sarcasm. Huawei ensures you pay the full intelligence tax. Can't touch, drop, or use it? Ringtone fees and frozen screens add to the grievances, with one user decrying, "Shameless. Other brands don't charge for basics." Huawei's reputation suffers from overhyped marketing that amplifies perceived flaws in products and services. To dodge backlash, critics often disclaimer, "Huawei is just a brand, not a company." Store traffic tells a tale. Apple outlets buzz with crowds, dwarfing Huawei and Xiaomi's sparse showrooms. Leading the way? "It's all about fooling Chinese consumers," one observer quipped. Service centers ironically overflow like markets, proof, some say, of rampant quality issues. Buy Huawei, and you're unlucky. A former loyalist, speaking under his real name, detailed his Mate XT's spontaneous screen line and leak after mere months, despite meticulous records. Huawei cited a tiny corner scratch as user damage, rejecting warranty despite offered footage. After tears, hotline escalations, and 3 tests, he paid 2,999 yuan for a replacement, his second such ordeal. Commenters noted he's still paying the tax, sustaining Huawei via diehards. Increasingly, Chinese users warn, avoid Huawei, you'll regret it. Reports of self-combustion, App Store fraud, costing users 1.5 million yuan overnight, and data theft fuel distrust, tying into Huawei's military-linked background and government ties. Yet, despite these challenges, Huawei shows resilience. In China, it reclaimed top smartphone spots in Q1 and Q2 2025, with 28.5% growth and record shares, driven by models like the Mate series. Globally, shipments rose 22% year-over-year in Q2, though average prices fell 29%. In smartwatches, Huawei overtook Apple in Q2 shipments, claiming the global lead with 52% growth versus Apple's 3% dip. Awards in networking and AI at events like Network X 2025 highlight successes in enterprise solutions. Experts attribute struggles to widening chip gaps post-US bans. Huawei relies on domestic or downgraded tech, hurting experience, and a fading nationalist push among youth weary of quality lapses. Harmony OS compatibility issues deter some, while overseas markets reflect pragmatic buyers prioritizing value over sentiment. In Thailand, Huawei's fade underscores true quality perceptions without patriotic buffers. If reliant on little pinks and paid supporters amid economic woes, Huawei's domestic stronghold may erode, but its enterprise wins, and China momentum suggests a complex future, not total fade, but adaptation amid fierce rivalry with Apple, whose China sales rebounded in Q2 2025.